I said before, and I'll say again, when the world moves from a reserve currency, from international currency to something else, it always causes turmoil and problems. Go back and read about when the pound sterling lost its status over a few decades. In 1924, the pound sterling and the British economy were number one. There was no number two. But 50 years later, 1976 to be exact, Britain went bankrupt.
Hmm.
The IMF had to fly into Heathrow Airport to bail them out. They couldn't pay their bills. This happened in 50 years. It's not the first time the world has had this problem. It used to be the French franc and the Spanish peseta, etc. It's a Dutch guilder.
Jim Rogers delves into the potential turmoil when the world shifts from the US dollar to another reserve currency, drawing parallels with historical transitions like the British pound. He discusses the challenges facing the Chinese renminbi and the complexities of using gold and silver as alternatives. Rogers emphasizes the importance of preparedness and learning from history to navigate future financial uncertainties.
The logical competitor to the US dollar should be the Chinese renminbi. But then my next sentence was, but there are many controls in China, and that makes it impossible for the renminbi to be the world's competing currency. You can't have a competing currency where you have to go through 100 different things just to use it. People who are out there in the world, if they want to buy a loaf of bread, they don't want a problem. They just want to go buy a loaf of bread. So I haven't found that currency yet. I don't know what it's going to be, but I am looking. That has always happened throughout history with a country and a currency. That probably will happen with the US dollar because the US dollar is a terribly flawed currency. I mean, the US is the largest debtor in the history of the world. I'm not the only person who knows that. I'm not the only person who knows that that's going to cause problems someday. But also, yes, China's a huge economy, a huge everything. But it's not so simple to make the Chinese renminbi the world's competing currency yet. I don't see something else. Logically, it should be the renminbi, but there are many reasons that it cannot be yet. Maybe someday, probably will be someday, but someday's not next week. I said before, and I'll say again, when the world moves from a reserve currency, from international currency to something else, it always causes turmoil and problems. Go back and read about when the pound sterling lost its status over a few decades. In 1924, the pound sterling and the British economy were number one. There was no number two. But 50 years later, 1976 to be exact, Britain went bankrupt.
Hmm.
The IMF had to fly into Heathrow Airport to bail them out. They couldn't pay their bills. This happened in 50 years. It's not the first time the world has had this problem. It used to be the French franc and the Spanish peseta, etc. It's a Dutch guilder once upon a time. All these things have happened before. It's not a simple transition. If the Chinese currency were completely convertible right now, it would be, it would happen.
It will be clearer.
But the Chinese currency is not, if it's going to happen, it's going to be lots of turmoil. Always has been, for many reasons. And it will be again. As I say, if you know the answer, and I can see you don't know either.
That's why I'm asking you.
But if you know it, please tell me. No, I can tell you lots of things. And there are many people, lots of gold bugs, who think it will be gold. But gold has always had problems too throughout history. Silver, silver has been the international currency more than gold had You remember Jesus Christ? He was sold for 30 pieces of silver. He was not sold for 30 pieces of gold because silver was the money in that part of the world then. The U.S., when the U.S. was established, it was based on a silver standard. The first American Currency Act, 1792 or whatever it was, silver was the basis for the U.S. dollar. Now that changed, but I'm just saying, throughout history, silver has been an extremely important medium of exchange, might be again, but neither silver nor gold can solve our problem now because there are too many problems with silver and gold. So I don't know the answer. I'm looking. If we have a gigantic catastrophe next month, people might grab gold and silver because they don't know what else. Then I don't know either. There's nothing else. But throughout history, silver and gold standards have ultimately led to problems too. That's why they've obviously lasted a long time at times in history. But the reason they haven't lasted forever is because gold and silver have their own problems. I have some silver. I have some silver right here.
You still have in your pocket?
Yes. And I have some gold in my pocket. But, see, there's
It's
silver.
an American Eagle?
No,
American Eagle?
that happens to be an Austrian silver
Philharmonic.
coin. But I don't have the answer. Today, silver is cheaper on a historic basis. Silver is down 60% from its all-time high or something. Gold is at an all-time high. So obviously, on a historic basis, silver is cheaper. I'm not buying either today, but if I were buying one today, I would buy silver.
Jim Rogers, a renowned investor, warns of potential upheaval in global finance from shifts in reserve currencies. He highlights the decline of the British pound and questions the long-term viability of the US dollar due to the US's massive debt. Rogers sees the Chinese renminbi as a potential replacement, but cites China's capital controls as a major barrier. He acknowledges the historical importance of gold and silver, but notes their limitations in modern finance. Rogers stresses the need for preparedness, diversification, and learning from history, remaining skeptical of political solutions to financial crises.
It's possible? Of course it's possible. Throughout history, when politicians need an answer, they always say, we're doing this for you. This is for your good, what we're doing. It ain't for your good. It's for their good. It's a way to save themselves, whatever it happens to be, whether it's eliminating the gold standard, which America did in 1933, as you said. They didn't say, we're screwing you. They said, this is for your own good. This is for the good of the American citizens and the American Republic. So whatever they do, and it's going to be absurd, whatever they do in the end, it's not going to be good for you. It's not going to be good for them. It's going to be good for the world, but they will think it is, and they will do strange things. I certainly feel that everyone should have a plan B, should have a backup plan, and whether you say putting money in, putting gold or silver in Singapore is a good plan B, might be. I don't know. I'm looking for the best plan B, and have been for many years. Singapore is a great plan B right now. But you ask me in 10 years, you ask me in 20 years. I don't know what the great plan B is. I have a few plan Bs where everybody should. It's not that simple. The main lesson of history is that most people do not learn the lessons of history. You can sit here and say, look, this is history. It's right here. And they say, doesn't count. Don't worry. It's different now. Blah, blah, blah. Or weak or stronger. We can take care of it. So people do not pay attention to history and they don't care. But I know that I'm not smarter than history. And I know that history is full of things that we should all be aware of and worry about, no matter what it is. So I hope you're worried. And if you get worried, you'll get prepared. One of the things that I have learned is with children, they often know what they want and what they're good at. You don't know how they know, and they don't know how they know. But I have learned that if children really, really, really want to learn to play the guitar, you should encourage it, and you should help them to do it. And you may think, God damn, what a waste of time and money. Let them make those decisions. Even if you think it's a bad waste of time and money, let them pursue it. Because someday they'll wind up being the best in the world at it. And
Yep.
you will say, I knew it. I encouraged you. You're the best in the world because of me, even though you hated it and objected. But they know more than we think they know. We know more than they think they know.
Thank you for joining us as Jim Rogers explored the complexities of global finance and currency dynamics. History shows that transitions between reserve currencies are tumultuous, and today's uncertainties with the US dollar highlight the need for preparedness.